Welcome to Tradespoon. My name is Vlad Karpel. I'm CEO and founder of Tradespoon, and today we're going to have a weekly strategy roundtable where we talk about current market conditions, trade opportunity, and answer any questions you might have. This is my brief bio for those of you who are new. Again, background is in technology. I've been doing this for over 20 years, mainly on technology side, right? That's my background, building tools, models, building IT, using AI and neural networks to help me trade. And I've been managing my own money for over 20 years. And now we have Keith, who joined me, and his background is market making, hedge funds. He's expert in options. So this is a great addition to the team. That's our unique proposition. Disclosures are important. If this is your first broadcast, I encourage you to visit optionstraining.com so you can understand the risk associated with trading stock or options. You can read the remaining disclosures if you need more time. All right, let's take a look. Please ask your questions. I'll try to get through them as soon as I can. So we do have escalation in the Middle East, right? We're seeing the crude oil. That's kind of the main news. I mean, we had CPI, PPI data that looked better than expected. So inflation is going in the right direction. But overnight, Israel did bomb Iran. Iran is planning to retaliate. They're already sending drones. So based on escalation or de-escalation, we'll see what happens. Right now, SPX is fighting for the 6,000 level. If you were in my broadcast or in live trading room, we talked about that quite a lot, right? The idea of positioning. So we are approaching expiration, right? June, these billions of contracts, $130 billion worth of contracts are expiring in June, and they're going to be rolled over into July. Right now, July, there's not a lot of contracts in futures and options data, mainly in concentrated, and most of this concentrated at the 6,000 strike. That's why 6,000 has been a pretty important level, and right now we're trading slightly below that. If that level doesn't hold, you do have 5,900, 5,800, 5,700 positioning, but not as much, right? Plus it expires. So the sell-off can accelerate if there is escalation, right? If it's a one-way bombing, Israel bombs and Iran cannot build nuclear weapons and they stop and that's the end of it, great, then the market will ignore it. But if Iran is actually successful in bombing Israel or retaliating, and then Israel retaliates back, then then obviously things could get out of control. So for now, we'll see, right? It's kind of every hour the information changes. For now, 5,900 is important. We're fighting for that level. If that level is taken out, we'll see where we close today. But if it's taken out, then 5,900, right? 5,900 would be the next level. Flip point, right? Gamma flip is around 5,900, 5,950. So I think dealers are forced to step in to still be delta neutral, but less so will be next week, right? We have VIX expiration Wednesday, and then equity options future expire on Friday, and so maybe it makes sense to start thinking about hedging. Maybe reduce some of your long positions, maybe add to the put spread, because if it escalates, I mean, you do have support to the flip point, but anything I think below 5,900, the gamma is going to become negative, and that means that sell-off could accelerate to 5,800, 5,700 if Middle East escalates. Meanwhile, SPX is close to 6,000, still fighting. Crude oil, it's still elevated. Bitcoin down 2%. Gas, energy prices continue to go higher. Metals and miners continue. Platinum, sharp pullback in platinum. Gold, people are hiding. Gold is trying to break out as well, right, as a hedge to uncertainty and escalation, right? Ascending triangle, overhead resistance. It could take out and continue to grind higher. And gold miners already took out the overhead resistance, and silver took out the overhead resistance. Small caps pull back, right? Regional banks affected the most. Spiders down 1%, semis down 2%, QQQ down 1%. VIX continues to be, off the session high, we were at 22, but still elevated. Any questions? All right, BJD, Don, Ed, Jerry, John, Martin, all my favorite people are here. Excellent, thank you. So stock forecast toolbox, our model going into the event, right? The model run on based on yesterday's close prices, shows strong uptrend, right? Or mild uptrend, not strong, mild uptrend, potentially reaching, all-time high in the next 10 days. Doesn't see a lot of momentum below 600. Obviously, there is a new data point today. This was when VIX was 16, now VIX was at 22. So most likely what used to be a support, if it's taken out, will become an overhead resistance. That's how I would look at that. So this is an important level on SPX and spiders, I agree. Going into this, if you zoom out into 6 long-term prediction, basically model says there's not a lot of momentum outside of 580, 590 level. And we're already at 600, right? So the market was overbought going into the escalation, right? Plus Trump said that he might impose the tariffs, unilateral tariffs again on all the countries. So not a good setup, especially going into the expiration next week. So the setup is vulnerable where, obviously models thinks that we could revisit the lows, it thinks September, October, which I agree with the model, but, based on the news, it could be sooner, right? So the risk is to the downside for sure, right? There's little room to the upside, maybe all-time highs, maybe slightly higher, but to the downside, you could revisit the lows, right? So obviously disproportionate, risk versus reward. Yeah, it could be 620, great. If Iran and Israel reach an agreement and tariffs are low, okay, we'll grind higher. But if the opposite is true, well, much bigger distance, right? Much bigger distance from here to there, right? 20% versus here to there, 5%. So disproportionate risk, I would consider hedging or reducing your long positions, right? You can buy a spider's put spread or QQQ put spreads. You can sell some of your long positions. So I do apologize. Yesterday we had some issues, technical issues. I think they're resolved. At least I'm hoping they're resolved, like trader log. I don't know if you were able to access it. I mean, obviously the trade of this week is Oracle. If you participate in an Oracle trade, this is probably the best trade in a long time, right? So I bought the spread for 27 cents. I closed it for 72. It's trading at $1.60. This is 2, 3, 4 times return on your investment, right? The spread was underpriced and Oracle did much better than NVIDIA, right? People were surprised and Oracle continues to go high, right? This is an example of where you can have, it's a low probability event, right? Oracle usually doesn't jump, right? 20%, right? 20%. It's a low probability event, right? But there was a very large position at 200 going into the event, right? Looking at the gamma exposure, right? And the flip point on Oracle. So this is where you can take a low probability event, but structure in such a way where you have well-defined risk, right? In this example, only 27 cents. I actually didn't think we're going to move 15% to the downside, so I subsidized that by selling put spread. So there was a risk on the put spread, 161, so $2.50 risk. Right? Sometimes it happens, right? On target, I was wrong, right? Same setup on target trade, and that did not work well because we had 2 standard deviation move to the downside. Not target, sorry, TJX. TJX was one of the better retailer, very strong uptrend, so I kind of assume same thing is going to happen. And obviously after earnings, it dropped. Where's TJX earnings? It dropped here, right? Here. Still only 4%. I don't know why. Well, anyway, so that trade did not work, right? I think it moved 2 standard deviation. Oh, because I think it did 1 and then 2. But after the earnings, there was a pretty sharp pullback. Not in one day, right? Not in one day, but so it doesn't always work, right? But when it does, you can risk 27 cents to make $1.60, right? So that's an example of a lower probability event, but low probability trade, but outsized, return. So that's Oracle this week. And I try to do at least 1 earnings, 2 earnings. If you're in the live trading room, there's always more because in my personal account, I trade more often. Microsoft was a good trade. This is more of a momentum trade, obviously much higher probability trade, but smaller return. I mean, not smaller. I mean, I entered at 429, closed at 580. Microsoft, right? This week, this was a signal in spreads, right? So still trading spreads, but higher probability. Then the model provides signals, right? You can find these models here: active trader, weekly trader. And there was no signal today, but yesterday, signal was Bank of America, Delta Airline, EMR. So we're providing these signals with the specific entry and exit points, not specific, suggested entry and exit points. Based on our model or based on yesterday's close, you can trade options. Some of these signals I actually trade, right? Microsoft, I think, was in weekly power trader, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. So for this week, Oracle, Citigroup, United Airline. Okay. I think it was on yellow tunnel. Let's see. Yellow tunnel. Weekly power trader. Yeah, so this was on yellow tunnel. I mean, obviously, most of these trades are you can see them on both sides, right? I'm a founder of both sites. I trade only in one account, shared by both platforms. We just segregate them differently. But Microsoft was the idea, and this is an example where 429 to 5, also pretty good trade, right? $1.50, close to 40%, maybe 40% return in 3 days. Right, so this is also a good trade. Another example was NVIDIA. So this is a stock. So I tried purposely give you to subscribers different trade ideas with different risk, right? Obviously, trading stock is the least amount of risk. Trading Oracle out of the money calendar spread is lowest probability but highest possible return on capital. This is a higher probability of trade, and risk is much smaller than trading options, right? Because it's not leveraged, right? But it does require capital. So here I bought NVIDIA, right? On Monday, also Signal, did it together with Microsoft. Microsoft, I'm out because I made my return. NVIDIA, I only closed half. I mean, 1% profit was for NVIDIA, maybe not the greatest, but still. 3 days, you can capture 1% return. Obviously for stock trading, that's great, right? If you can capture 1% every 3 days, then it compounds, right? The idea of compounding investment. So that's an NVIDIA trade, still in the trade, half of the position left. Obviously, it's not going in the right direction now, but I trimmed half of the position, right? I always propose to split the trade in two, like Bank of America. Only risk here is 1% for, if you're aggressive short-term trader, we do 1%. If suggestion, right? If you do weekly trader, then it's 1.5%, right? Suggested, gains and losses. But the idea is to split the trade into two, and each of the trade not to risk more than 1% of your account, right? So total risk 2.5%. And not to have more than 4 active positions at a time, right? Especially if you're new and you have a smaller portfolio, you're just starting, I would, limit the risk to 4, 2.5 loss, right? Because if the escalation continues in Middle East, we could drop 5, 10, 15%, who knows, right? But this way, your risk is 10%, right? And for somebody new, 10% you can recover. 20% drawdown in your portfolio, 30% drawdown, it's very hard to recover. You start trading on emotions, you haven't lived, you haven't traded when market is down 20, 30, 40%, you get emotional, you want to avoid that, right? You want to avoid those situations. So this is the lead circle that I went through. We also have stock forecast toolbox that can help you make these decisions on what's the good entry and exit points. On spiders, you can put QQQ, you can put General Electric, whatever stocks you're trading or watching, you can actually see uptrend, downtrend, short term, 10-day trend, long term, up, to compare, right, what the trend is for short term, long term, and make those decisions. And it gives you specific, support and resistance levels. So that's stock forecast toolbox. You already saw active trader and weekly trader, right? Active trader, the idea it's aggressive short-term trading, should last 2 to 5 days, right? Active trader, 1 or 2 days, the model. I mean, you can hold it for a week, but it's a short-term aggressive trader. Weekly trader, Active trader runs every day. The model runs every day and gives you the signal. Weekly trader, the model runs every Sunday, right? It runs on Sunday and gives you these ideas every Sunday, right? So those are the models. Obviously, there is a monthly trader also, or maybe monthly trader. It was a monthly trader. Yeah, okay, sorry. It was a monthly trader. The signal was Microsoft and monthly trader, right? And the idea that, if it's monthly trader and you can hold it for a month, Microsoft, if you think it's going to continue going higher, or FCX. But that's the idea. That's kind of more of a longer term models. All right, so you have weekly, sometimes you have the same signals in both, right? So active trader, weekly trader, monthly trader. If you want to see what I trade, it's Elite Circle, right? You can see all my stock and option trades. You can enter. We have Discord. You can sign up for Discord. You can sign up for SMS message. We support both. Weekly trader, option trader. You can watch the recordings. I encourage you to watch the live trading room recordings from me and Keith, right? You can participate live, right? Obviously, if you can participate live, that's better, like most of you already do. If you don't, then try it out, right? We do, go to pricing, you can try out any of these services, and we do give 30-day money-back guarantee. We do give you 30-day money-back guarantee. So active trader, weekly strategy roundtable, that's the picks. You get all the picks, right? If you want stock forecast toolbox, I would use tools, right? You get active trader monthly tools. Then if you want to watch my portfolio, right? I mean, Elite Circle, you get access to everything, right? And you can see all of my trades. Premium, you just see this. If you just want to see spread trades and participate in live trading room, then you can sign up for premium, or you can sign up for Vlad's portfolio and you can see all of my trades. Any questions on the services? What else do we offer? You do have a lot of free content, free education. So we have a getting started guide, you have learning center. I encourage you, if you want to learn, this is a free, right? In technical analysis, options basics, advanced technical analysis. You can find, we have 15 years, close, not 15, 13 years worth of webinars on different topics. You can find them here. Obviously, we have workshop recordings. We have smarting trading guides, right? For the journal, we have how to journal, how to keep a trading plan, manual for different tools that we have, and trading guide. We talked about trading guide. So that's free content. So I encourage you to add info@tradespoon.com so you get our emails. Whitelist them, add them to the list of contacts in your email provider so you get our notifications. Event recording newsletters, right? You get free content twice a week, Thursdays and Monday. We send, newsletter. There's a video newsletter that we also send. So take advantage of that information. Again, add info@tradespoon.com to make sure you get these recordings. Any questions? All right, if there are no questions, let's see what else. Let's sum it up in terms of signals, right? Outside of geopolitical risks, what has happened? Retail, I mean, obviously we're ending, but no new signal, right? We didn't take out last week lows, so no new signal in retail. Obviously, energy is best performing sector this week due to geopolitical risks. Metals and miners made new highs. Consumer discretionary, sideways, no new signal. Teslas of the world, sideways price action. Healthcare, rebounding. People are start hiding in healthcare again. So if you want to diversify, maybe healthcare is a place to get some dividend and safety. And utilities, no sideways, no new signal. Consumer staples, also sideways, no new signal. XLK actually made new highs and still higher highs. So XLK, despite geopolitical risk, actually made new all-time high. So XLK is breaking out and doing well. Right, these are Visas, Nvidias, Microsoft of the world, and XLI industrials made new highs, but no new signal. Kind of undid all the price action from last week. Banks are weak, so banks did make new lows, but did not make new lows in the past 4 weeks. So just kind of trading in this well-defined box. These are your JP Morgans and Warren Buffett of the world. Energy, we talked about energy. Home builders, no new signal. So equal weighted S&P actually breaking out, right? So if you look at VTV or RSP, right, equal weighted S&P, everything but beta, high beta, at least VTV made new high, right? This is the Vanguard. So that's good, that's positive. VIX, obviously elevated, but nothing close to what it was in April. QQQ made new highs. Oh, so basically QQQ retested all-time highs. Right, so QQQ, we're already there, got denied, closed in the same level as last Friday. Spiders, same price action. Junk bonds are stable, not falling apart. That's good. So liquidity, ample of liquidity in the market, in bond market. That's good. This, you know, it looks like 10-year auction and 30-year auction went well, not like a 20-year auction. And then what else? I mean, transportation, no new signal. Semis on its way to retest. I mean, year-to-date high. So it retested year-to-date high on its way to retest July of last year high. So semis are leading. That's a positive news for the bulls. It hasn't been the case since July of last year, and now we're, you know, AI revolution is back on. Small caps, new highs, so that's good. Japan, sideways, no new signal. Germany, European Union, slightly lower. Strong price action in silver. Silver broke out, continues to trade higher. Strong trade in ARK Innovation, high beta stocks. Gold trying to break out on the uncertainty in the market. Magnificent Seven, Netflix, no new signal. Meta, no new signal. Microsoft, so Microsoft continues to break out. Google tried to break out, reversed. Apple, no new signal, one of the weaker. Amazon tried to break out, so Amazon also looks pretty strong. Tesla recovered from the fiasco between Trump and Elon Musk. And then what else? GE has been weak. Big pullback in GE. JP Morgan is stable. MongoDB I can remove. NVIDIA. And that's it. All right, any questions? Adobe and the gamma exposure. So Adobe had earnings. We talked about Adobe. I know, John, you did the spread. So Adobe, I don't have a flip point. We're making the, you know, I was targeting, what did I target? 350, 360? What do I do have Adobe. So I sold the call spread, so that was good. So that's expiring worthless. So that's profitable. And I did buy a, you know, I bought 370 put that expires next week and sold 360 put that expires this week. So the 360 is going to expire worthless, but I did buy 360 put. We're at 389. So the biggest positioning right now that provides us support is the put wall is at 380, right? So 380. Next one is 370. So I have 370 put, but it's a large position. So I have till tomorrow. Obviously, if there's escalation, then, you know, it could drop to 360. So I think call spread will expire worthless. Probably the 360 or 365 put that you saw this week also will expire worthless. But I still have 370 put. I do have 370 put that expires next week. It's 20 points away, right? What, 5% away? But, you know, it moves 5% in one day, so we could be there Monday. So for now, I decided to keep, I mean, I collected the premium from the calls, collected the premium from the short put. Now I'm leaving the long put, right, as one of my hedges, right? So that's kind of where I think. Please show me NVIDIA trading again. Robert, close the browser. Are you in, do me a favor, when you get a chance to look at, which one you want to see? NVIDIA trade. Yeah, I'll show you the NVIDIA trade. Or try to click multiple times. Like if it doesn't load, click once, wait a second, click twice, wait a second. Sorry about that. I have to go to this meeting. 3 times, right? We definitely had an issue, so it's not, I'm not saying, but the way it worked for me, first of all, I would use Chrome, quit Chrome, and also try to, in the settings, remove all the temporary privacy and security. Delete all the cookies and cache, right? Like cached images and files. And just cache images and files should be, just delete all of them, right? I mean, it's a firewall issue, so something got cached, depends on where you locate it, but I think the issue is resolved, right? And I apologize for that. I mean, it wasn't fun yesterday, but at least for me, it's working. So yeah, 143.17 closed at 144. So I put half original order, half I already closed, and now, you know, I'm kind of watching the SPX level. But Robert, let me know if this makes sense. BJ, yes, dollar, I'm concerned. Thank you for reminding me. Dollar, I am concerned. I mean, it's marginal. I wouldn't say, I mean, it's extremely oversold. And today it's actually up. But you know, if we're gonna take out the lows next week, you know, we're going lower, and that could accelerate the sell-off, right? Because there's really no support till 90. So I am concerned about dollar. I am concerned about dollar, but you know, I'm more concerned about 10-year yield, and 10-year yield looks pretty good to me, right? No new signal. So dollar, this could be a Trump trade, right? People selling dollar, they want to go to a stable coin, right? We'll look at Visa. All of these are short-term phenomenon to me. I don't think people are going to move to stable coin or US, or everybody's going to trade in Bitcoin. All the sovereign wealth funds all of a sudden going to trade in Bitcoin. Maybe at some point they will, but not tomorrow or in the next few months. Probably not in the next few years. So I think this is temporary. So at some point, dollar will reverse back. But short term, it is a problem. And I think if the sell-off accelerates in the dollar, that's not good either. Hedge their gamma to every 1% move in the underlying. Right. So John, the idea of the gamma, yes, of hedging. You look at the flip point, right? Positive total. You need to look at positive gamma, negative gamma, right? Where it flips. Right. There's a calculation. We're working on showing you the calculation, but that's the idea, right? From the positive gamma, you flip to the negative. Right now, it's somewhere around 595. Is that flip, right? So the idea is that dealers have to hedge and be neutral, right? So that means that every time that is probably one of the main reasons we're still at 6,000, right? Which I'm concerned next week when that gamma is going to expire, well, then it's an open field, right? It could be at all-time high, or it could continue to sell off based on the news. I use Chrome, have toggle in and out several times. We'll do a cleanup. Thanks. Try to maybe reboot your box, Robert. Try to be on maybe different. I don't know if you're doing it at home. Try it in the office or try it on your phone, right? Try it on your phone. But I think it's a DNS issue. It's like because it's a Cloudflare, right? We're using Cloudflare, it's, you know, this cloud computing, and somewhere it's still cached. It needs to propagate, and hopefully, because we just did fix today. At night, it might take a little longer. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a great day. Our prayer goes out, my prayer goes out to all the innocent people on both sides, Iran and Israel, and I hope they'll find peaceful resolution soon. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Kevin, you know, I'm biased. You know, I think Israel, if Iran would have retaliated, I think one of the reasons market is not collapsing because Iran is not retaliating, and they tried to retaliate, and Israel took out all the, not all, but a lot of the aerospace, defense systems. A lot of the ballistic bombing facilities have been destroyed. But supposedly they still have over 1,000 long-term missiles, over 1,000. So the question is, can they get their act together, or because Iran has never been in war, they just they don't know what this is just a one-way trade. I have no idea. I'm praying that they don't retaliate and they just come back to the negotiation table and abandon their desire to destroy the state of Israel. So if that can be the case, great. If not, things could, things could escalate. All right, thank you very much and have a great day.